To all those who are continuing their own cancer journey, I remain with you, side by side, hand in hand. Out of darkness can come light. So let that light shine bright.
Yesterday, KP released this highly produced montage of Kate, William, and their kids running merrily through the woods, frolicking in grass, and rolling around on a beach in what was described as candid. While a voiceover of Kate announced that her cancer treatment had ended, all while giving, I guess, what was supposed to be an inspirational message of hope. And folks, a few words came to mind when I saw this spectacle: contrived, staged, cringe. But probably what stood out the most was what can only be described as a forced display of affection between her and William, which came off looking more like what someone else described as a Viagra commercial. There was Kate running wistfully in a flowy dress with a filter that looked like a commercial for an antidepressant. Folks, what the hell was this? I don't think this landed the way they thought it would. The reviews are in, and they are brutal. Take a look at this piece from The Standard. As for the shots of her and William lying on the grass, shoulder to shoulder, or her head lying on his shoulder, it was in the first place a ghastly piece of emotional exhibitionism, and in the second, a hostage to fortune. All one can say really is that the late queen would have died early rather than subject herself to this extraordinary display of trite sentiment. Kate is the stuff of every contemporary self-help book to do with living in the moment and being grateful for the small stuff. It goes on to say, but forgive me, was it necessary to share the news with the nation in an utterly grisly video? If she were advertising Herbal Essences Tropical Showers shampoo, it would have been just the thing. The shots of her walking in slow motion through a sunlit meadow, her long hair moving in the breeze, her slender figure shown to advantage in her simple cotton frock, why, it made one feel emotionally manipulated, squeezed like a lemon for the last drop of sympathy. Even the normally fawning, sycophantic journalists were seemingly in a state of confusion about the message this infomercial intended to send. First of all, let's talk about the obvious elephant in the room here. Did Kate really have cancer? Back in March, when her avatar made this earth-shattering announcement that sent shockwaves all around the world, unleashing a torrent of guilty feelings from people who had simply started to take notice that her absence was, let's say, a little strange. She stated that while she had undergone abdominal surgery, mind you, we know as much about that as we do about the cancer. Now, she claimed that during her surgery, cancer had been present and that she was undertaking a course of preventative chemotherapy. Preventative chemotherapy. Well, doesn't that mean she doesn't have it or she didn't have it? I don't know. Now she's saying that, what is she saying? That she's cancer-free or she's not? In any case, she's still taking it easy, so don't expect her back at work anytime soon. Meanwhile, her father-in-law, who does really seem to be battling something, is out and about, making appearances, fulfilling his duties, to the point where Camilla wants him to slow down. Why do I get the feeling that the public is being deliberately misled here for reasons that might have to do with deflecting from what may have actually taken place? In the video, Kate mentioned that her trials and tribulations began some 9 months ago. 9 months. Now, wouldn't that be in December? Perhaps this ambulance convoy really was her being rushed to the hospital. One thing is for sure, folks, Kate was not around for the first few months of 2024. And the question remains, what happened? Their refusal to be transparent just fuels more speculation. And this 1990s MTV-style video production only adds to the suspicion that they are hiding something. Now, back to when Kate was missing. William clearly did not have access to Kate and possibly also Charlotte and Louis. If he did, he wouldn't have had to carry out these comical theatrics to mislead the public that all was well. Now, it's either that Kate had left or the Spanish journalist Concha Calleja was correct about Kate being in a coma. I mean, that might explain why she was unable to be seen and why there was, during this time, a flurry of rehashed articles in the press of Kate, complete with old photographs, in an attempt to convince the public that nothing was amiss. But it didn't work. As each day went by, people's suspicions grew, and it became virtually impossible to keep the lid on what was happening. So they came up with a virtual solution. And, well, we all know the story. AI Kate was born. And folks, notice in her message of inspiration that she never once thanked any doctor or care worker, no mention of any cancer organization. Just this obvious attempt to convince the public that she and William are in love. They're in love, don't you know? But is it really the public they're trying to convince, or is it someone else? Many users on social media were quick to point out that ever since the Sussexes arrived on the scene, royal protocol regarding public displays of affection have indeed changed. And that this is, of course, William and Kate's latest farcical attempt to seem relatable, but also to emphasize the strength of their marriage in comparison to Harry and Meghan. Folks, why does it seem like William spends every waking hour obsessing over his brother? A couple weeks back, I came across this curious piece about Frogmore Cottage, Harry and Meghan's former home, gifted to them by the late Queen and promptly taken back by King Charles almost immediately after the Queen's death. And it states that Kate refuses to move into Frogmore because it will remind her of Meghan. First of all, don't Kate and William already live somewhere? In fact, don't they have several estates that they call home? Why are they looking for another home? Or was this just their way of throwing barbs at the Sussexes? In any case, Frogmore remains empty, and apparently Charles, as part of his slimming down mission, is attempting to relocate his disgraced younger brother there. But he's not budging from Royal Lodge, and I don't know what the end game is going to be here, folks. Is he going to forcibly remove him from the house? Is Charles this intent on pleasing his wife that he would allow things to get that messy? But folks, say whatever you want to say about Elizabeth, and I know many people have their issues with her, but I'm sorry, after her death, It seems the entire family is coming apart at the seams. They just can't seem to maintain the same level of stability that Elizabeth was able to achieve. Charles comes off as ineffective and dominated by Camilla, who seems hell-bent on getting whatever she wants. And I'm sorry if you're a William and Kate fan, but everything they have done, particularly this year, has been a disaster. And this is just the latest disaster. It just comes off as inauthentic, at times uncomfortable. It also has the unintended effect of trivializing this devastating disease, which, by the way, did we ever find out what type of cancer she had, supposedly? Imagine the impact it would have had on awareness, testing, research, and development had Kate been more open about her illness. Unless there was never anything to tell. Most people diagnosed with cancer still have to go to work every day. And I think portraying Kate as this light, ethereal, nymph-like fairy princess frolicking carefree through the woods, telling people to let their light shine bright or something to that effect, just landed with a thud. And folks, who knows whose idea this was? Maybe it was William's, maybe Kate's, maybe both of them. But I think this has done a lot of damage. A day after they released the video, they announced once again an opening for their comms team. Folks, this is what happens when the truth is shrouded in darkness and lies and obfuscations rule the day. When you are not able to be your authentic self, it shows. Now, we know that Kate has drastically scaled back her appearances. She said it was because of the cancer, but now she's cancer-free, or she's not. I don't know. Whatever. She's fine now. Shouldn't she be back to her regular duties of ribbon cutting and public appearances? Instead, KP is signaling that she still won't be returning in her normal capacity. So, did Kate quit, or was she fired? For a while, it looked like Rose Hanbury was making a comeback in William's life. And the more I look at it, it seems to me that Kate pulled off a major coup here. I do believe that something devastating happened in December, whether it was self-inflicted or the result of an eating disorder that landed her in the emergency room. I don't know. There are suggestions that William may have done something to her physically, but there is no proof of that, and she's not talking. But even if he hadn't physically harmed her, he may have harmed her psychologically, to the point where she may have felt so unloved, so isolated, that she just needed to escape. I mentioned in a previous video that around the same time, the press laid bare her parents' financial struggles, including the collapse of their business, which was their de facto entry into high society. William's attitude had noticeably changed toward his wife. So it is very conceivable that she may have had a mental crisis, which resulted in a prolonged hospital stay during the first few months of the year. But pride, folks, pride prevented either one of them from admitting the truth. Pride and also shame. Shame mainly for William, who has to prove that he, the heir, is successful in all things, including his marriage. And that admitting that his wife had suffered some sort of nervous breakdown, he would in effect be conceding yet again another victory to his brother. I really think that had a lot to do with the need for all the smoke and mirrors that took place early this year. But folks, it will be interesting to see what lies ahead for what has proven to be a most interesting year for the British royal family. And this latest stunt is yet more proof for Charles and Camilla that William is unfit to take on the role of the monarch. And I'm pretty sure Camilla, who knows how to play the press more than anyone, is sitting somewhere right now having a good laugh over a gin and tonic about William and Kate's latest PR disaster.
Is to get your story out and for people to engage in that story. And if you look at every front page of the legacy media this morning, and here we are talking about it, it certainly has generated the empathy and the understanding that a young family would want to achieve. Particularly,
there's a lot of media and public sympathy for that family for very, very understandable reasons. At the same time, if they just go straight to social media and ignore what you describe as the legacy media, they're not opening up themselves to any accountability, any questioning by, the royal correspondents who are not unsympathetic to them, but there's no public accountability to a family who are paid for by the British taxpayer.
That's indeed a valid point.
And folks, let me just end with this. If it ever comes to light that this was all a hoax to cover up for something else, then this is truly the end of them. This is the end. Because the level of depravity required to deceive the public in this way, even if they weren't public figures, the scale of this mendacity is enough, in my opinion, to end this monarchy. Because I just don't see how the taxpayers could tolerate this kind of deceit. While Britain is experiencing a homelessness crisis, they're fighting over their numerous estates, half of which are empty. While Britain is experiencing a cost of living crisis, they're getting multi-million-pound increases. And while people are on waiting lists for the NHS to receive treatment for cancer, they're filming dreamlike videos with messages that ring hollow, oblivious to the travails of the people living in the real world. So drop a line in the comment and let me know what you think about this latest video of William and Kate's. I think it's really ridiculous, and it really kind of shows that they're out of touch. It shows that the family is living in a bubble, that it's obtuse, it's tone deaf, it should not have happened. And I don't know who they have advising them, but they need to fire that person. So let me know what you think. Drop a line in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you later in the next video.